Greetings, this is Brittany Bernard, and this is my artifact tracking sheet project. So here is my artifact tracking sheet. The exploratory question was looking at this data, how did you respond, and what changes were made? So my two artifacts were differentiated lesson plan and teaching manipulatives. So observed was a learning gap for both. And the relative significance, if learning gap observed, how important is a skill or concept? And I put it at a 5 because it is one of our main constructs that we teach. And prominence, what was this widespread gap with all the students? I put it at a 4 because the majority of my students are at the same level in the red. So here is why I chose, justification behind why I chose to focus on quantification. This is number concepts. This is quantification that I teach. I teach preschool 4-year-olds. And quantification is counting how many bears do you see? 1, 2, 3, 4, for them to count objects. So there were 4 questions on the exam. So we do assessments at baseline, the beginning of the year, PM1, PM2, PM3, and then outcome at the end of the year. So right now we're at PM2, and a lot of my students are in the red, so that's why I definitely focused on this construct more than the others because they need the most help in this one. So that's why you don't see a super widespread gap. I mean, some have 100%, but the majority of them are 50s. So, all right, so this is the original lesson plan. It's quantifying bears. We have counting bears that we use, and we have the children count them. We'll sit them in front of them. I have 3 bears in my set. How many? Let's count them together. 1, 2, 3. So this is just the continued plan, the bottom of it, and then our assessment, the evaluation. We'd ask each student in my small group. This is a small group lesson. I would ask each student in my small group to count 0, then 1 through 5. So here is how I differentiated. I stopped using counting bears because the students were not engaged anymore. They were tired of counting bears. They were not interested at all. So I started finding out while I was listening to my students and the same characters that they play with while they're in free play centers were different characters on television. So I chose to make sheets for them to practice quantification with their favorite characters. And I had one special ed friend who definitely did not engage at all, but he loved balloons. So I made this specifically for him so that he could focus. And then I have another friend who had a tough home situation and did not get a lot of food. So we gave him, a lot of extra snacks. And in those extra snacks, we used to do this. This is just a picture I found, but we used to do exactly this without the numbers. We would put goldfish or pretzels and we would have him count them and then he could eat them. We would have him count. So he was practicing quantification. At the same time, we were meeting his physiological need as well, not just academic. And then we have different toys in the classroom that, so this is just one example, but we use different toys for them to count as well to keep them engaged. Yeah, so it definitely raises engagement. Now in my team meeting with my team, we discussed Nicole's data because she teaches 5th grade students. We had lots of questions for why her data was the way that it is. A lot of her friends were in red, and she explained to us that it was the wording of the test questions more so than the actual content. So she went back and she differentiated. She went back and she actually sat down with the kids and taught them all over about how to answer an essay question. And I thought that was really great, diving in there to get to the bottom, completely to the bottom of it before even focusing on the actual content, but just to help them in testing skills. So that was great. So in regards to my data, I had other ones that also were in red, like on here. They were asking me why even at some data I had 100% had 0%. There were zeros, but yet it was still green. And it's because at this time of the year, it was a harder construct that the students cannot grasp yet. And we don't expect them to grasp it until the end of the year. So yeah, so we had a really great data dive with my teammates, and we're excited to continue. Thank you.